When investigators finally opened up Queen Camilla's old private jet that nobody had seen in years, nobody could have imagined what they were about to find. Hidden away in a far-off hangar, the airplane looked pretty normal at first. Viewed inside were clues to a secret life the public was never supposed to know about. From weird flight records to personal items that hinted at royal privacy, each thing they found showed something way deeper than just luxury or status. But what exactly did they find inside? And why has it left everyone shocked? This is the story. The find that surprised everyone. When heavy doors of Queen Camilla sold, private jet finally opened up. The small group of people standing in front of it had no clue what they were about to discover. For years, the airplane had stayed hidden in plain sight, locked away in a quiet hangar on private property. Its existence was almost erased from official paperwork. Dust covered its surface like a blanket, hiding not just metal and leather, but memories. What started as a simple check soon became a find that got people talking in royal circles. Inside, the air was heavy with the smell of time. That faint mix of old wood, old paper, and old perfume. The cabin, though not very bright, looked frozen in a moment that wouldn't go away. Every corner told a quiet story. On one of its seats was a small velvet bag, still neatly closed, as if waiting for its owner to come back. Nearby, pieces of handwritten notes sat under a cracked glass tray. Names, initials, and word numbers written in quick. Among them were what looked to be flight schedules, some matching noun royal trips, while others went to places that didn't exist in any official record. It wasn't fancy wealth or amazing luxury that grabbed Varioni that day. It was the mystery. The storage areas held no shiny treasures or piles of gold, only small clues of a life carefully organized and strongly protected. Every item seemed to tell a story of a woman living between two different worlds, one under the harsh glare of public attention, every move watched, and another hidden world of careful quiet where privacy, control, and secret. People looking around, wary, amazed by the careful details. A perfectly folded napkin stamped with royal symbol, reading glasses, sit injectically where they had been left untouched by time. It felt as if the moment the queen last stepped off the plane had been frozen. Yet beyond these real things, the cabin held something way harder to describe. An invisible feeling of secrecy, planning, and careful design, suggesting a life lived with precision, purpose, and guarded privacy. Why had this airplane, once a private, safe place in the sky, been left behind and hidden? Why had it disappeared so completely from royal paperwork? Experts guessed that the jet might have been used for private, unrecorded trips, maybe personal getaways. Others thought it had served a space for alone time, thinking, or even safety during hard times. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear. The airplane was more than a forgotten way, locked up and silenced until those doors were finally opened. Camilla's jet didn't just show whisper soft power and silence, it breathed mystery. What untold stories once happened inside its cabin, and what secrets did it take into the darkness, never meant to be seen or heard again. Now, let's uncover the creepy secrets buried deep inside Queen Camilla's private jet. A look inside the hidden jet. From the outside, the airplane looked almost forgettable. A basic, plain jet that looked like any other used for short royal flights. Its white outside had dulled with age, its symbol barely visible under a thin layer of dust. Nothing about it suggested mystery waiting beyond the lockador. But the moment the locks gave way and the cabin filled with light for the first time in decades, the air seemed to change. It wasn't just a plane anymore. It was a time capsule. Inside, the jet felt weirdly still, as though it had been waiting patiently for this moment. The faint smell of old leather and old perfume hung in the air. Cream-colored seats lined the cabin, their smooth surfaces marked with delicate dents, as if their last passengers had only just gotten up. Soft halo lights flickered weakly overhead, reflecting on the wooden panels that had arched beautifully with age. Every detail whispered of class and control, luxury without too much, comfort without showing off. Near one window seat was a small velvet bag, untouched and perfectly placed. When opened, it showed a pair of delicate reading glasses and a neatly folded napkin decorated with a royal symbol, yet clearly personal. It was a simple find, yet somehow deeply private, as though the queen herself might step aboard at any moment and take them back. As the team moved toward the back of the cabin, the finds became more interesting. Behind a hidden panel, a small storage space was found, sealed, tight, almost purposely hidden. Inside were several pages of handwritten notes. Some of the listed routes matched public records of known royal trips, formal state visits, official tours, and diplomatic flights, but others told a different story. These routes went to private airports, far-off places, and unnamed spots that did not exist in any official. Written across the edges of several pages were mysterious initials, VC, alongside repeated mentions of something called Northern 3. The meaning was unclear, and guessing quickly spread. Was it a place, a private code namest, only by a trusted few? Each find deepened the mystery. That plane was no longer just an old royal airplane. It was a silent witness, 2 years of unrecorded travel. Its wall-shot, soaked-up conversations never meant to be heard. Its storage spaces had held more than luggage. They had held secrets. Standing inside that cabin, one thing became totally clear. This jet was not built to amaze or impress. It was built to protect shield moments of alone time, private meetings, and unspoken stories from thighs of the world. It wasn't just transportation. It was a vault in Neski, carrying the unseen chapters of Queen Camilla's private life and keeping them locked in silence long after Thenjin stopped running. A basic Jeko's royal secrets, hidden trips, and a silence that speaks louder than words. But how did Camilla come to have such quiet power and luxury? Waste, fate, fortune, or the shadow of an old inheritance? Let's find out. The hidden money behind the crown. Before she ever entered into royal life, Queen Camilla was surrounded by privilege, charm, and quiet wealth. A world shaped long before the crown ever touched her head. Her background wasn't just comfortable. It was rooted in old English nobility and generations offward that quietly paved the way forth woman she would become. Camilla's father, Major Bruce Shand, was more than just a decorated war hero. He was a smart and successful businessman rested for his discipline, wit, and sense of duty. Known for his gentlemanly way and perfect taste, Bruce built a reputation that mixed military honor with business success. He managed family stuff with quiet precision, making sure that his children, Camilla and her siblings, grew up surrounded by stability and class, rather than showing off. Her mother, Rosalind Cubitt, came from a world even closer to Britain's social elite. They were part of the top level of British nobility. Rosalind's father, Roland Cubitt, was the third Baron Ashcombe, and his family's history was connected with some of England's most powerful and well-connected circles. The Cubitts built their fortune through generations, offer and real estate, even having ties to the building of Buckingham Palace itself through the Familiish Historic Building Company. It's no surprise-a-thon that Camilla's mother's family loved her deeply. When her grandparents died, they made sure she would be cared for and honored with a lasting sign of. According to The Independent, the Cubitts left Camilla an inheritance of £500,000. A huge fortune, even by nobles. But for Camilla, it wasn't about money. It was a legacy, a reminder of the family line that shaped her values after privacy and quiet strength. Her personal fortune would continue to grow as her life changed direction. After her marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, a respected officer and societe figure, came to an end. Little was publicly known about what she got in their divorce settlement. True to her private nature, Camilla kept the details formally hidden. But money experts and celebrity wealth trackers shave guessed that following dispersion her personal net worth stood around $5 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. That number, though impressive, represented more than bank accounts and assets. It showed her independence, a woman of noble birth who managed to keep her own identity through one of the most watched love stories in British history. While Thorold focused on her future with Prince Charles, Camilla quietly built a foundation that was hers alone, not inherited through the crown, but earned through her own toughness and the stability of her upbringing. Today, her wealth is often talked about in royal circles, but few realize how much of it came before her royal title. Long before she became royalty, Camilla's noble heritage, hidden fortune, and quiet toughness shaped the woman she would become. But why do her private jet flights leave no official record? And where did these secret trips truly take her? Now, let's uncover the hidden system designed to keep her movement invisible. A fortress in Deski. For Queen Camilla, the airplane was never meant to be a display of royal luxury or power. It wasn't about gold fittings, crystal glasses, or fancy seats. This jet had a different purpose. It was her fortress in the sky, a rare space where control.com and privacy. In a life constantly surrounded by cameras, advisors, and public expectation, the jet represented myth and way more precious than showing off freedom. The plane was impounded directly by the royal family. Buttressed through a private aviation company trusted by diplomats and higher-ranking officials, the company was known for keeping secrets, working quickly for those whose lives depended on keeping things private. Every detail of Camilla's trips was handled with care, from the chosen routes to the type Aftia served during flight. Each step followed a pattern of secrecy that bordered on ritual. Only a small hand-picked team ever boarded with her: a private attendant, a pilot with years of royal clearance, and one security officer, no more than that. Before they stepped on board, each had signet lifelong non-disclosure agreements, binding them to silence even long after their service ended. For them, every flight wasn't just a mission, it was a security. Experts later confirmed that the airplane was built engineered for invisibility rather than. Unlike the huge royal planes often seen during official tours, Camilla's jet was small, quick. She had a lot of things that Charles really fell in love with, and he never really fell out of love with her. So, it isn't purposely unremarkable. It sizzled it to land quietly at smaller airports far from the public eye, airstrips known only to local crews and security workers. Even its flight paths were wrapped in mystery, instead of appearing in standard aviation records under recognizable royal names. Many routes were listed under coded names or neutral tags, leaving little trace of the true passenger on board. Each trip was planned to blend into the noise of the skies, hidden in plain sight. Just as Camilla herself had often been before she became queen, those familiar with her travel habits described the jet not as a luxury plane, but as a moving, safe place, a rare place where she could let down her guard. My family knew nothing about osteoporosis. The local doctor was kind and caring, while others might have used such a plane to enjoy themselves. Camilla used it, totus. When the engines roared to life and the runway lights blurred into streaks of gold, the queen wasn't flying toward greatness. She was flying toward quiet. Every takeoff marked a brief moment of escape from Theraged order of royal duty, a suspended world where she could think, breathe, and simply exist without eyes upon Heron, the endless noise of royal life. Thatchet was her silence, her unseen safe place, a secret haven gliding fair above, the world that could never truly leave her alone. Every detail of her jet stays hidden from the public. But why exact secrecy? Is Camilla protecting her from palace watching, or simply to enjoy her private luxury in the air? Now, let's figure out the life she keeps it in between flights. The quiet above the clouds to the public. Queen Camilla's life seems endlessly grand, paradeslined with flags, glittering royal parties, and carefully staged palace ceremonies. Every moment appears poised and perfect, a seamless performance of royal duty. But behind that grace and control lies an exhausting truth. Every step, word, and gesture is, for the queen, privacy has always been a luxury few could afford, and even fewer could. Yet, high above the clouds, far from the noise of cameras and the expectations of the crown, Camilla found her safe place. The moment her jet lifted from the runway, her world changed to enter Charles III, accompanied by Queen Camilla. The hum of the engines replaced thecator of courtiers. The flashing lights-off photographers faded into soft yellow caban glow. Up there in her private sky, she could finally breathe out. Inside the airplane, everything showed her preference for quiet simplicity. The decor was elegant, but understated. Creme leather seats, polished wood, and warm lighting that wrapped the cabin in a golden calm. There were no fancy meals or champagne toasts. Her requests were modest: a cup of tea, a bowl of fruit, and sometimes a handwritten note placed neatly on the service tray, a gentle reminder that she preferred silence during the flight. She often used these trips to catch up on reading, write down thoughts, or simply stare out of the small window, lost in the endless stretch of blue. To her staff, these flights weren't routine, they were rituals of retreat. Every trip was a pause button, a rare sacrament where she could exist without thought of expectation pressing against their shoulders. One former flight attendant, who worked during those years remembered the stillness that filled Thekabin whenever the queen was aboard. It was always quiet. The attendant said softly. She used the tomato breathe, not to speak, acting as an ambassador for the society. She attended the World Congress on Osteoporosis in Lisbon. There were no conversations no unnecessary interruptions. Even the cruise movements became quieter, gentler, as though the entire airplane had learned to mirror her need for calm. It was restoration. In a world where even her facial expressions were analyzed, these moments of stillness became her most protected treasure. Thejit was more than transportation. It was her invisible safe place, suspended between deity and freedom. Each time the wheels left the ground, the queen wasn't just traveling to Anathar. She was stepping into a world where she could finally be unseen, unheard, and unjudged. And in that quiet, somewhere between sky and earth, she got back something rare and deeply human: peace. Because for a woman, who her life in the spotlight. True luxury wasn't gold or jewels. It was. Camilla chose silence to explore the world's beauty far from the palacined public eyes. But how long can successful freedom last for a queen? And is these jets still carrying her on Thysgret trips? Let's uncover the jet that vanished. When the airplane was finally retired, it didn't fade away quietly. It vanished. There was no royal statement, no media coverage, not even a whisper from police. One day the jet existed. The next, it was simply gone. Official documents described it only as taken out of service. But beyond that single word, nothing more was said. It was Isto, the plane, and the secrets it held had been purposely erased from history. For years, rumors swirled about what had happened to it. Aviation trackers noticed the jet had stopped appearing in air traffic databases. Journalists who tried to follow its trail found themselves running into dead ends. The company that had once run an airplane went silent, offering no explanations and refusing to release flight data. Requests for information from royal archives were met with polite but firm denials. Its engines hadn't crewed in decades, and its interior was locked under strict secrecy. When experts gained limited access, they quickly realized the extent of the erasing. They see it as the prince and his great love affair. And it's kind of dramatic. The flight records had been completely wiped. The navigation records, passenger lists, and even maintenance reports, all gone. To historians, that silence spoke volumes. Airplanes are usually retired with ceremony or sold in top-private hands. But this one had been buried, not stored. Someone had gone to great lengths to make sure its story ended quietly. What was so sensitive about this particular jet? What memories or missions was it meant to protect? Many noticed how its disappearance fergly matched with a major shift in Camilla's life. Around the time Thepplane vanished, she was stepping out from the shadows of her private world and into the blinding light of royal importance. The woman who had once been protected by secrecy was becoming one of the most visible figures in the monarchy, standing publicly beside the future king. In that sense, the vanishing of the airplane seemed almost symbolic. The plane had once been her safe place. Having stated that he knows he won't have the same time to dedicate to his passions when he is king, a private cocoon for alone time and privacy. As her role changed, so too did her world. There was no longer space for a hidden jet, no longer a need for secret flights wrapped in silence. The airplane's disappearance, much like its story, stays wrapped in quiet mystery. Some say it was taken apart. Others believe it still sits in that private hangar, untouched. But one thing is certain. When it vanished, it took with it the last real trace of a life lived between two worlds, one of secrecy and one of royal duty. The airplane vanished into the shadows of history, leaving more questions than answers. But could there be another hidden luxury that only Camilla Now, let's dive into Queen Camilla's secret country estate beyond the jet, hidden in the peaceful Wiltshire countryside. Ray Mill House is Queen Camilla's private safe place, keeping the echoes of her life before the crown. Long before royal duties defined her days, this home offered comfort and freedom, a rare, safe place where she could escape the rigid rules of palace life. Within its quiet walls, Camilla lived not as a public figure, but as herself, ambrosingprivacy.com, and true Camilla first found Ramil House in the early 1990s during a time of great personal change. Following her separation from her first husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, she looked for a peaceful, somewhere that felt entirely her own. In 1994, she founded a grandiose down-to-earth country house surrounded by fields, trees, and winding country lanes. It wasn't just a home, it was a safe place. Tucked behind tall, hedge-sand, ivy-covered walls, Ray Mill House sits like a secret in plain sight. The estate is big but warm, filled with small personal touches that show Camilla's down-to-earth's nature. At its heart is a bright sitting room that opens onto sweeping gardens, where sunlight spills through wide windows and the smell of roses drifts in from outside. From here, I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, with the hope that this reception will draw you all together, Camilla can look out over her lawns. That seemed to stretch endlessly toward the horizon, a quiet view that few other seavers see. Beyond the house, a river runs slowly through the property, adding to its almost storybook charm. The Queen's love for animals is woven into every. There are stables for her beloved horses, paths for long walks with her dogs, and quiet spots perfect for reading or thinking. An outdoor swimming pool lies tucked between tall hedges, offering a rare moment of luxury among, though she lived there full time between 1996 and 2003. Camilla never truly left Ray Mill behind. Even after her marriage to King Charles II, she kept the property. On the 9th of April 2005, Charles and Camilla married in a civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall, visiting whenever she needed alone time or space to breathe. Friends say it stays one place where she can relax without ceremony. No palace staff, no official schedule, no cameras, just peace, privacy, and the hum of country life. Inside, the decor shows her personality, elegant but comfortable, traditional yet welcoming. There are airsoft sofas, shelves lined with books, and art collected over the years. Family photos and well-loved furniture hint at home's long history, not just as a royal residence, but as a woman's private corner of the world. For Queen Camilla, Ray Mill House is more than a nestead. It's a bridge between who she was and who she became. It's a reminder that behind the public title and their royal duties is someone who still values quiet mornings, open fields, and the familiar sound of home. In a life defined by tradition and duty, Ray Mill House stays her personal kingdom, a haven untouched by the crown. But what about her mysterious private jet? Did it had scandal, secrecy, or something way more personal? Now, let's uncover what Queen Camilla's hidden jet truly The final revelation. When the inspection ended, the team found no scandal, no hidden treasures, and no mysterious messages of royal drama. There were no shocking discoveries or secrets to start gossip. Instead, what came out was way subtler, way more profound. A glimpse into the human disbelief, the Queen. The jet spoke of control alone time, and a life carefully lived away from prying eyes, showing quiet strength rather than dramatic scandal. The airplane's interior told a story not of showing off, but of control. Every inch of the cabin spoke of simplicity and order. There were no diamond-studded fixtures, no gold-plated details, and no trace of showing off often connected with royal travel. Instead, there was a sense of calm, of balance, a quiet reflection of the woman who once sat within it, where others might have filled their private jets with luxury. Queen Camilla had chosen usefulness, because surely political correctness is as severe a form of censorship as any. The layout was precise and efficient, designed for peace rather than pleasure. A single writing desk stood near the window, facing the open sky. The shelves held only a few books, classics mostly, and a neatly folded blanket trusted on one of the seats. Everything was deliberate, as though each item had been placed with purpose. For the people looking around, this simplicity was almost more revealing than any secretary could have been. It showed a side of Camilla that few outside her circle had ever seen, a woman who had learned to value silence over show and control over comfort. Her life, after all, had been lived under the pest of spotlights. Every gesture was studied, every word picked apart. In such a world, privacy wasn't a luxury, it was armor. Experts later say that the airplane mirrored Camilla's personality in ways her public image never could. It wasn't fancy because you didn't need to be. One historian explained, it was practical, efficient, and quietly powerful, just like her. The Queen's jet wasn't a throne in the sky, it was a retreat, a safe place, a space where she could shed the crown, if only for a few hours, and breathe in silence. There was something deeply symbolic about that simplicity. It was as if the jet itself had been designed to disappear, too existently for her peace of mind, not for Rania and Elsa's admiration. While Thurald below obsessed over appearance than the queen's in keeping with the times, I don't think anyone would have its patience. Totha's airplane showed what she valued: order, alone time, and control. When the inspection team finally stepped out, closing the heavy door behind them, they carried no priceless artifacts or shocking discoveries. What they took instead was an understanding that the greatest revelations are not always found in luxury or scandal, but in... When the jet's doors finally opened, they didn't reveal hidden riches or forbidden secrets. They revealed stillness, the private calm of a woman Wu had learned over years of public watching, and quiet endurance that true power doesn't need to shout. In that silence, more was said about Queen Camilla than any speech or portrait ever cowled. What do you think about the amazing secrets uncovered inside Queen Camilla's private jet? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.